All right, there we go. Hello, everyone. It's Cassandra Williamson. Just a few minutes late. Just got back in the door. It's been one of those afternoons, just hectic. But nonetheless, that's just the way it works, right? Got things to do and people to talk to. That's it. All right. So, how have y'all been doing this afternoon? This earlier today at noon, we actually just went through a bunch of stuff, had some conversations with some people who were in chat and stuff like that, and it was a good time, a good conversation actually. Really enjoyed talking with Lisa earlier today, and look forward to whoever else is coming along. So let me go ahead and post this thing over on our website here too, so that everybody can find it from the website. And let me go into that and take care of it. So I'm going to go over here, and what we're going to do this afternoon is just kind of go through hitting some news articles, news stories that are out there that are kind of pertinent to what we're talking about, as well as, anything else. I might talk more about the Heritage Foundation, talk about some of the things that absolutely just, we need to clean our own house kind of stuff. Yeah, those things are coming. So anyway, let me go put this over on the website now. I finally got the other page to come up where I can edit the page and go to the live streaming section. And I'm going to edit the page really quickly. Hold on. Here we go. Click. And here, edit the code. I'm going to walk you through it as I do this. Okay. So I got to edit the embed code. And paste. And then update. Now anyone can catch us over on the website. You can go over there and just watch and see what we're talking about and all that. It's just now published. There it is. It's done. Got that out of the way. Because like I said, I got back in here at about a minute till. Minute to the top of the hour. So these shows are produced every weekday, noon and 6 p.m. Eastern time. So come in anytime you want during those periods of time. If you go looking for these things and you see them at a time other than noon Eastern or 6 p.m. Eastern, then you're watching a recording, but this is not. And tomorrow I may have to do recordings for my noon show and maybe even for my 6 p.m. show tomorrow, because I'm going to be with my grandson tomorrow, watching him up until about 3 o'clock. And then hopefully I'll get my car back tomorrow. Finally, it's been 6 weeks and about 3, 4, 5 days. 6 weeks and 5 days. And my car has been in the freaking shop. Yeah, it's not fun. Believe me, it's not fun. Anyway, so first thing I want to do is make sure you're fully aware of this disclaimer. I put the disclaimer up here. It should scroll across the bottom of the screen right now. As I said, my name is Cassandra Williamson, Executive Director for Transgender Diverse Veterans of America and our Action Group. 2 different organizations, but the Action Group side is the one that does all of this kind of talking about activism and all that kind of stuff, because, somebody's got to stand out here and put the bullhorn out there and go, hey, there's people wanting to erase us and delete us and excise us. Come on, we're here. Hey, we got to do it. You ready? Anyway, so the disclaimer is this: if the opinions expressed here are strictly mine and mine alone, they are not necessarily those of any particular organization, person, agency, department, government, anyone. They're my opinions. Just to make that clear, okay? I need to make that clear for everyone. So that's it. That's it. That's what we're going to be talking about. There's a lot of stuff. And if you're under the age of 18 years old, get out. This is not your show. Go find something else to hang out in. Now, let's drop away from that banner at the bottom right there, and let's go over and say again, this is Tuesday. This is Giving Tuesday. So I do want to post this up really quickly. Just I made it yesterday. I'm learning more about this Adobe After Effects system. I'm learning a lot about it, but there's a lot to learn. There we are. Okay. That was the Adobe After Effects, and this is the Okay, everyone, we are back. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this evening's program, 6 p.m. Eastern Time every weekday. So here we go. Let's go jump off over into checking the news headlines. Let me present that screen if I can find it. If I have it up here in the background somewhere. There. Got it. All right, the first one is, now I saw this earlier today, and it came out about an hour ago, basically, probably about 2 hours now. I think it hasn't reset. But this story was really 4 hours ago. So this story was really kind of speaks to everything that's taking place with the Heritage Foundation, Dr. Roberts, and Project 2025, and all of that kind of stuff. It's not just rhetoric. This comes from Steve Bannon, Kash Patel, warning Morning Joe staff that Trump's threats of revenge are real. We know they're real. They're not hyperbolic. That's his whole modus operandi, is revenge. It's always it. So anyway, they go on down through here and they're talking about all of this stuff, and they actually tell you point blank that is exactly. And let me see. Patel concluded. This is Patel, Kash Patel, who Bannon seems to think that if Trump wins the presidency in November 2024, if so, then he thinks that Patel would be CIA director. But this is what he says. Listen to this. And I know darn well I wouldn't want this person in CIA. We're going to come after you, whether it's criminal or civilly. We'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all on notice. And talking about Steve Bannon, this is why they hate us. This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators, because we're actually going to use the Constitution to prosecute them for crimes they said we have always been guilty of, but never have. So anyway, this person doesn't deserve to be near a dog shed. And Steve Bannon doesn't need to be either. Period. Just my thinking. All right, so let's go take a look at the headlines one more time. Go down through here. I'm not going to worry about that. He bashed, obviously, Mike Johnson's going to bash LGBT people. He's always done that. That's what Christian nationalism is, folks. It's an extremism over there. It's a dominionism. All right. Gay Congressman co-sponsor. Okay. Fly high. Tommy Tuberville finally caves and lifts hold on most military promotions. Everything below 3 stars. 3 stars and below, actually. 3 stars and below, he lifted the hold on. That left a handful of 4-star generals primarily, and maybe some admirals, but I think it's, flag officers or general officers, either one. But he kept the hold on them because, he thinks they're woke. I said, what the hell is that? Come on, Tommy, you're foolish. What I'd like to do is recall him back home down here to Alabama, and then not send him back to the Congress, to the Senate. Not send him back at all, because that man has no clue about what it takes to secure our nation, national security. No clue. But the funny part is, I said bring him home, but he only has a P.O. box here in Alabama. His home is actually over in Florida. Yep, true. So let's go over here. That's Tommy. Okay, let me see what else is in here. Okay, I'm not worried about that. Not normal times. Here's why the Republican primary is a referendum on Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Well, whatever. You can call it what you want. Okay. Woke media attempt to cancel a child over a racist hoax meets heavy backlash. Okay, well, garbage in, garbage out, right? Yep, that's my thinking on it. America confronts Adam Schiff. American. Okay, I saw that earlier. Breathtaking funding barrier. Scott Walker's anti-union law could be undone. Okay, mom of trans athlete at the center of Florida sports controversy speaks out. Yeah, I read that earlier too. Interesting story. Already collapsing, and we're back to the front. So basically, there's nothing new on this page. So what I'm going to do next is go ahead and call up Project 2025. Let me just do it like this. Project2025.org. If you can go there too, go to project2025.org. Now, I'm not going to take time to go into a lot of this stuff. I just want to introduce you to the introduction. Okay. Over the past several days and several programs, we've actually taken apart this thing chapter by chapter and did a search of terms and words that could be found in those documents that refer to things like gender, sex, diversity, inclusion, equity, social or social anything. Let me see. Any of those terms, any term like that. And why? Why would I be interested in that? Well, because this document is 920 pages, and I think there's 21 or 22 chapters. Yeah, wait a minute. I can tell you. 21 or 22 chapters. And I don't know where my phone is now. I think it's still in my purse where it just came back in. Okay. Okay. So, policy agenda, let's go down to chapter 1. I think there's 27, 28, 29, 30 chapters. Okay. But anyway, we've been through all of those chapters, all of them. Some do not have references to any of those. But where it does show up in the other chapters, it's atrocious. It's horrifying and disgusting. And let me tell you why. I'll show you why, actually. Let me just pull up the forward to this thing, written by the president of the Heritage Foundation, Dr. Kevin Roberts, who has a PhD in early American history. Okay. Promise to America. That's the forward. And this, and if I go in and just type in words like this is the forward. It's a promise to America. By the way, I need to make it very clear. This is a Heritage Foundation sponsored project. It's actually their baby. The book itself, Mandate for Leadership for Project 2025, it came out this year. It's copyright 1920, or not 1923. Oh my God, I'm telling my age, right? 2023. And here we are with Dr. Roberts, President of Heritage, in the forward. So let's go up here and hit the little search button. You can download each chapter separately and independently if you want. And I did that because I wanted to go through each one separately and have a program about it. But you can also download back over to this page. You can actually download the entire mandate right there for free. It's an entire 920 pages of this document you can download. Okay. Don't buy the book, but it also says the book is already sold out. So you'll be wasting your time anyway. I think they sold all their 20 copies. No, more than likely, a whole heck of a lot more than that. Why do I say that? Because there are 400 individuals at least who contributed to this thing and made it real. There's 80 plus organizations that have already put into it. So my guess is they've had a pretty darn good sale on this thing at $35 a piece. Thing is, Project 2025 from the Heritage Foundation already has $22 million set aside to make it operational, to carry this to the next level. So why is this such a threat, folks? The Heritage Foundation, you need to know a little bit about the Heritage Foundation to understand the seriousness of this. All right. They started back in 1973. And when Reagan ran for president in 1980 and won the election in 1980 and said, "So help me God," on January the 20th of 1981, Heritage Foundation had a mandate for leadership for him. But Reagan was already bought into the thing. He knew what was coming. But that was just a simple document of aspirational goals they'd like to see the next conservative president do. And so what did Reagan do? Well, in the first 180 days, he accomplished about 2/3 of the Heritage Foundation's mandate for leadership. Every 4 years after that, with a few exceptions in the 2000s, they handed off a mandate to leadership to the next conservative person who won. Okay, and including some of the conservative Democrats who won, like Bill Clinton. And even Bill Clinton was able to do some of the stuff that they wanted because he happened to agree with some of those things. So come on up here to 2016, and you have Donald Trump winning the presidency. And then January the 20th of 2025, 2018, 2017, sorry. They handed off another document that was designed similarly to the one they had passed out for all those years prior to Trump. But you and I both know Trump's not going to read 920 pages or any pages. It's got to be summarized in like one paragraph on one page in bold letters with a hamburger beside it. Okay, we know that's just, or maybe it's KFC stuff. I don't know, whatever. But we know that's the case. But anyway, so they discovered through the Trump administration that very little of it, they got some things accomplished, but they didn't really do as well as they wanted to. So when they hired a new president to Heritage Foundation right after the Trump administration, This person, Dr. Kevin Roberts, came from Texas, running an organization down there that was the Texas version, basically, of the Heritage Foundation and Eagle Forum and Alliance Defending Freedom, all that stuff all wrapped up in one. that's what that organization was. He became much more of an activist. He took the organization in a more activist direction, not just activist, but also in terms of laying out a very beautifully designed strategic plan to make this thing come to fruition. He wants it to come to fruition, folks. He wants to make this real. And how do you do that? Well, obviously the policy itself is important, but if you don't have the people around the president, the new president, to actually carry it out, then you're just going to get a few of the things accomplished, a maximum of 2/3 roughly. That's what they experienced anyway with Reagan. So what do you do with that? What do you do with that? Well, one is you need a way to bring in people and get them vetted and tested and trained in your thinking so that that new president, if a conservative wins in November of 2024, that new president on January the 20th of 2025 is standing up there and says, "So help me God." You don't want that new president to have to waste any time bringing together a team of people and vetting them all there. And in that process, in that 4 or 5 week, 6 week period of time, maybe 8 weeks, maybe at most, probably about 8 weeks. But anyway, that period of time, you don't want to have that president devoting all of his money and resources and time and energy to finding people when the Heritage Foundation's already got a whole slate of people trained, okay? That's what's new between this one and the one that Trump received in 2017. It's still 920 pages, and Trump's not going to read that for sure, okay? The only book he read consistently over a period of time, you know what it was? It was the one that was on his bed, on his nightstand beside his bed. You know what it was called? Mein Kampf. Yes, that's what he read. He's following the playbook, folks. If you don't know it, you can't see it. I don't know what's wrong. There's something wrong with you. But anyway, so what Project 2025 does is it creates a training academy. It's called the Presidential Administration Academy. They've already started. They've got a number of training videos already created and set up and accessible after you apply up here. Now, I'm not suggesting that all of us just suddenly unload and apply for everything on this here at this site. I'm not suggesting that at all. But, do your own research. I mean, it would be fun to, well, no, don't do that. I've already applied, just so you know. I did apply. I got a response back by email that says, "Thank you for your application." And that was like, I don't know, 2 months ago. I'm not going to get another letter because I answered all the questions honestly. And they want to weed you out. I mean, if you are not one of their conservative people and you don't believe like they do and stuff like that, well, you're not going to get an invitation to go to the training program. Okay. That's all there is to it. And this training program is the thing that's built upon this personnel database. This presidential personnel database. This is where they want to pull in 20,000 people or more to come in and be trained to take over offices and agencies and departments within the whole executive branch of the federal government. But it hinges on one important fact, though. That new conservative president has got to be able to step in on day one and in the first 30 minutes and say, "Hey, here's an executive order. I want you to go ahead and implement Schedule F across the whole of the government." And yeah, it's likely to be litigated and all kinds of stuff. Always, everything's litigated, left and right, whatever's going on, it's always litigated. But anyway, Schedule F in and of itself basically says that all federal employees are at-will employees, meaning you can be fired at will and hired at will. Meaning that rather than having to get confirmation for a lot of offices in the Senate, some of the senior leadership offices within these organizations and agencies and departments and offices and so forth, all you have to do is fill it with an acting person. Say this is acting secretary so of the CIA, acting, active secretary of the Department of Defense, or acting secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs. And then just as you wish, slowly feed this stuff over to the Senate to see if they'll approve it for you. And even if they disapprove it, I mean, what difference does it make? You got somebody already doing the job who's acting, and you don't have to get approval for an acting person. You don't have to get approval for an actor or an actress. Yeah. That's what that Schedule F is going to allow them to do. And then to get rid of everyone else that they don't like within the whole executive branch of the federal government. And that's real, folks. That's real. That's very dangerous, but they want to do it. And what they're doing is it's based on this principle called the executive unitary executive theory. Basically, it means that the executive, meaning the president, has full authority to do whatever he wishes in the executive branch of the federal government within some limits, obviously. But, for the most part, he becomes the de facto, I don't even like using the word dictator, but it's authoritarian leader over the entire executive branch of the federal government. And he can at will put people wherever he wants. Now, you know what that also means? And you'll find that in Project 2025, if you look down through these documents, you'll find that part of this is they're going to assign in those offices where there's not necessarily someone who is politically appointed in there. For one thing, they can remove the person and put one in that they want, but also they're creating a whole nother set of officers that are political, whatever you want to call them, attaché, another political office holders, something like what the Soviet Union had back in the day. Okay. On every submarine, there was a political officer. On every ship, there was a political officer. In military units, there were political officers. They were all there with one purpose. That purpose was to make sure that they stuck with the party line, folks. And then make sure that the person who wasn't sticking to the party line inside that office or whatever gets removed. They're creating that. This thing creates that. There's political operatives within all of those different offices. So they'll train them. They'll collect all these people up, put them all through training and all this kind of stuff, certify them, make sure they're ready to go with security clearances, or at least able to get a security clearance, that kind of stuff. And then they kick off the policy. The most important part about this whole document, the most significant part about this whole document for every office in the executive branch can be summed up in Dr. Roberts' foreword to this thing. Because you find all that language, you find it in different ways, in different chapters, written by different authors, but with the same basic intent. So let's go take a look in the foreword to this monstrosity. Okay. So let me get out of here. Let's go over to this. This is the foreword. So remember I said up here in the corner, you can go up and click on the little magnifying glass, click up here, and just type in a word like, let's try gender, for instance. Now look, it came up with transgender right here. You can see it right there, transgender. So it became the first one. That's the first reference. And where is this in this document? The second paragraph, folks. It's the second paragraph. The second paragraph, they start talking about transgender people. But what they're trying to do is kind of fool people into thinking that if this is true and that is true, then this must be true also, even though we know that this is not true. However, so let me just read it to you. Da-da-da-da. And I'll kind of blow up this whole section right here, if I can, that is. Anyway, so you can see it in the blue right there. So, inflation is ravaging family budgets. Sure enough, we all feel that. I do. $16 hamburger. Really. We know that's true. That's a problem. Drug overdose deaths continue to escalate. We know that's true too. It crosses all cultural bounds. It crosses all community and economic strata. It covers it all. It's a nationwide problem. It's a nationwide problem. And that's true. But then they throw in this one right here. Children suffer the toxic normalization of transgenderism with drag queens and pornography invading their school libraries. Let me tell you something. They're using some tactics here that are tried and true and tested and been done all along. I mean, they talk about the inflation, and they know that people are accepting of that. They know that that's probably accurate. Even though it's coming down a little bit, it's still higher than it has been. We know that. We know it. And let me see. Let me get back to this again. So we know that's the case, but just because this is true and this drug overdose deaths continue to escalate is true, does not mean that the third part is true as well. It's a logical fallacy, but they're leading you into thinking that since this and that, then this. Okay. Well, but this is and not this. First thing is, I'm going to rewrite this thing and tell you exactly what I think about it. All right. So let me just start here. Inflation is ravaging the family budget. Drug overdose deaths continue to escalate, and children suffer the toxic normalization of conservatism with, I don't know, fascism and Christian nationalism invading their school libraries. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, that's more accurate. But the other part about this is transgenderism. I don't know about you, but when you put ism on the end of something, you're implying that it is an ideology that people have to have, that, you know, where they get to choose to be that. And that's what they want people to believe. And that's the kind of ingrained way that we've all been taught about isms of any kind, like communism, socialism, conservatism, republicanism, all of those isms out there, fascism. Those things are ideologies that people get to decide if they want to accept them or not. But I don't know about you, and as a transgender person myself, I know darn well that this is not something that you get to choose. Lord, no, my God. And you wouldn't want to wish it on anyone else either. Phew. No. So that really just gets under my skin. When people start using transgenderism and all that kind of stuff, or transgender ideology, no. No, that's wrong. And whoever started using that in academia, Lord, I wish you could go back and change your words, because it's coming back to haunt you and us right now. I wish those people in academia over on the left who had written a lot of this stuff about transgender people, and they threw in those words like transgenderism and transgender ideology in their academic papers. I really wish they had not done that, but it's too late. So we got to deal with it. So we'll deal with it and move on. The other thing they've done here is, you know, they're talking about misogyny and all this stuff, talking about the drag queens and pornography invading their school libraries. And we already know that this narrative works with a large percentage of our population. It's been working for 70, 80 years. Okay. For instance, back in the 1940s, late 1940s, early 1950s, they were talking about all of these kind of things when they were trying to integrate African Americans into the U.S. military without having segregated units and all that kind of stuff. They used this same kind of narrative to go after them, to persuade people that this was wrong. They didn't call it woke back then, but there were people in uproar over all of this. They thought the military had no business getting into social things, any kind of social issues. But guess what? It was the right thing to do that integration. It was the right thing to do when women were allowed to serve and then serve in combat. It was the right thing to do to let anyone serve in the military who is qualified to serve there. Now, let me tell you, the largest employer of transgender people in the world, and well, yeah, really in the world, I guess, and it's been this way for a long, long time. You can go all the way back to, well, probably to the Revolutionary War. And I know for certain in the Civil War, but it's gone back way, 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 way back for a long time. It's happened all the time. It's been around. But they're trying to conflate all of that stuff together so that they can take control of the narrative. They know that, like with the Lavender Scare of the 1950s, where they kicked out like 20,000 people out of the State Department and across the federal government for being gay, when all they really had to do is if they said, okay, you can serve openly as a gay person. If they'd said that, then there would be no problems around any of this stuff. There would have been no challenges to as a security threat for a person who was keeping that hid. There've been no problems with that. If they just come out and said, oh, you can serve, we don't mind. But instead, they kicked them all out, and they used these kind of of ways to do it. They used all of this stuff from the children, pornography, all of that. They associated it all together. That's just a tactic. It's been used all the time. And now it's transgender people's turn to be the scapegoat that gets tagged with all this crap. Anyway, so that's just in paragraph 2. Okay, let me jump down to the next reference. This is on page 4. Paragraph 2, the one I just finished, was on page 1 of the foreword. Okay, this is page 4 of the foreword. And this is the thing that really just kind of, I'm leading into this because I want everyone to know how vile this thing is. And I want you to know what they mean when they say, we believe in family, we believe in traditional values and stuff like that. Well, their family is defined as a man, a woman, and children. And their traditional values are associated with that definition of a family, work, leisure, as well as advocacy or philanthropy and volunteering and stuff like that, in your communities and church. They threw in church in there too. And that word is what they threw in there, church. So they're telling you exactly what they believe. But if you don't read it closely enough or don't know where it's coming from, you'll think, well, that sounds cool. But their family doesn't include those people are LGBTQ or single moms or single dads or anything like that. It doesn't include them. Doesn't include them because that's not what they consider as a traditional family. And so that's why you see so much talk about adoption agencies and stuff like that, and how so many people over on the far right are saying that, oh no, you shouldn't be dealing with these LGBT people shouldn't be adopting children. Come on, it should only be a father and a mother. They're serious. I just read that from Matt Walsh earlier today. I think it was Matt Walsh. Likely. Anyway, so starting with, they want to delete these terms, folks. Sexual orientation, gender identity, diversity, equity, inclusion, all this stuff right here on the bottom of this page. That's what they want to delete. Delete. What they want to do? They want to say delete D&I, gender equality, anything to do with gender. They can't stand the word gender. They think it just means sex. But they haven't realized that we've known this for quite some time, long time, actually, that gender and sex are different. But, they want to roll this stuff back to, I don't know, let's call it the Bohr model of the atom. So, and they want to, ban these words, delete these words, reproductive health, reproductive rights. And then they throw the comma in there that really just throws it over the top. And they want to remove this and any other term used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights. There's more after this. After rights, there's no comma, there's no period there. But I'm going to stop there because I want you to see that they don't think any of these other qualifications up here, these other categories of people, the diverse people within this nation, are undeserving of the First Amendment rights. And they say it again later in the next paragraph, as a matter of fact. And where do they want to remove this stuff from? Out of every federal, rule, agency, regulation, contract, grant, regulation, piece of legislation that exists. And why is that important? This one is particularly, they're all important, but this one is particularly egregious, okay? This one is bad because if you can stop all grants being focusing on any kind of social determinants of health, as in sexual orientation, gender identity, race, sex, those characteristics, social determinants of health, as well as the community you live in, your access to health, and the discrimination you may face. If you got any of these other intersecting identities with you, then they can cut off all the studies. They can cut off every single grant that goes out that has to do with anything on those social determinants of health and studying the impact of how, where, when, and why people live and who they are, and why there is such a disparity between the health care they get as a result of those intersecting identities. This is serious. This is really serious. I mean, it is horrendously serious, folks. And this is just on page 5. And then it's the next paragraph down. Here they go again, conflating, trying to make people think that pornography and omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology and sexualization of children. Oh my God. And then they go into this, I call this pseudo-intellectualism over here on the side. This is what I call pseudo-intellectualism. For instance, is not a political Gordian, not inextricably binding up desperate claims about free speech, property rights, sexual liberation, and child welfare. Okay, that's very Janusian of them. I can do it. Two-faced bunch of crap, right? Four-faced is really, there's one on each side, all four, all around it. But anyway, it's very Janusian. But no, as they say, it's not a political Gordian knot. And then they say, it has no claim to First Amendment protection. Yeah, it's right there. Big, bold letters, folks. Then they go on down in this same paragraph and say that, let me see, the people who are the purveyors of all this stuff, transgender ideology, as they call it, sexualization of children, pornography, and all that stuff, should be classed as registered sex offenders, and those companies, telecommunications technology firms that facilitate its spread should be shuttered. Don't think for a minute they're not serious about that. That is a top thing for them, okay? And this is just in the freaking forward, and there's more references to it all the way down through here, from the noxious tenets of critical race theory and gender ideology should be excised from curricula in every public school in the country. I'm going to change this one too. This is the noxious tenets of Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, and it's theocratic, fascist, authoritarian Christian nationalism ideology should be excised from curricula in every public school in the country. But I'm not calling for that, though, because those things should be presented in our schools too. I'm not calling for anyone to say, we don't talk about conservatism, we don't talk about liberalism, we don't talk about, critical race theory, we don't talk about gender, we don't talk, no, I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that this is wrong. It's an intellectual, what do you call it? They're going through intellectual hula hoops. I don't know. Jumping through the hoops, trying to pretend. No, they think theirs is so right that everyone else has to live by what they mean by so right. That's what this is all about. Now, let's go take a look at the comments, because I'm sure I've spent a lot of time talking about just that. Let me go over to the next here. Let's go back to the top. So we got a few comments over here. I'm going to just start up here at the top. Transgender News Weather. Howdy there, friends. How are you? Hi. My friend Stephanie is an elected state auditor. She's a transgender woman. Yay, cool. Hello. Let me see. Shared. All right, cool. Reagan ended. Oh, yeah. On the job training. I was one who lost my job because of him. Yep, I got it. And let me see. Trump got people reading for him. Yeah, he does. Absolutely. As long as you give him a cheeseburger or a chicken leg from KFC and you summarize it down to one page, that's all it takes. I mean, he'll just hand the rest of it off to somebody else and say, hey, here, Stephen Miller, you do it. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Did I say Stephen Miller's name? That guy needs help too. that guy's dangerous. With America First Legal, that guy really needs help. Okay, let me go on down through here. Okay, it's a shame some of the governors in some states don't go by the governing body, the White House. Okay, and they are trying to bring back conversion therapy. Yes, as a matter of fact, they sure are. I agree, they sure are. And let me go on down. Let me see who else is in here. What is? Let me see. They say nothing about the strip bars and clubs who have girls 18 to 20, or National Topless Day, or the nude bike ride in public, or how about nudist resorts with playgrounds for kids? Yeah, I know all that. That doesn't matter, because that doesn't grab the minds of those out there they wish to influence and confuse with that. If this is true and that is true, then this must be true, when in fact this is not true at the end. Yeah. So kids forced into cults. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I agree with this actually too. How about kids forced into cults? It's not just cults. It's not just cults. The biggest grooming group out here in the world, you know what it is? Go to your local Sunday school. Check it out. And that's right. Being transgender is who we are. It's not something we chose to be. It's not an ideology. We didn't decide to do this. We simply are. That's true. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. So, hide the current comment and all this. Let me go on down. All right. So, those are the comments. There's several of them over here. Most of them is from Transgender News, Weather, and Things of Interest. This is a Facebook group. You can go check them out over there, too. It's a Facebook. Go check them out there just with that name. And, reach out. Say hi. Good people. All right. Any other questions or comments? Because I will close it out after this. Just remind everyone that this is Tuesday. If you can at all help out in any way, help us take on the Heritage Foundation, then please do, because, I mean, let me remove my little banner. We'll play it again, okay? Let me get rid of all of that. Where are we? Oh, I know where I am. Hold on a second. It's in the comments. Hide. Okay, now let's play that banner again. You ready? I'm having to do it over here on the side just so you can see it. I created this one yesterday. And I've got something pretty short. Please. Here's the one I created for last Tuesday. One of my friends said, music. Okay, there you go. So one more comment. Let's see what we have up here on the top. Happy LGBTQIA Christmas. Yes. I know it's the holiday season, but I'll still be doing these shows. Please come back, bring some friends with you the next time. And I don't care if you agree with me or not, come back in. I will respect your opinion as long as we can talk to each other respectfully. And as long as you're not espousing things like, I don't know, anti-Semitism or Nazism. Yeah, those kind of things I just kind of have a really strong opinion about myself and a strong feeling about. And as I said at the beginning of this show, the opinions expressed here are mine and mine alone, not any particular organization, agency, department, government, or anyone else. They're just mine. Okay. So that's just the way it is. And so, having said all that, everyone, let me close this thing out with a brand here, and we will call it a day. Bye-bye. Okay. What time am I on? And days I am on every weekday at noon Eastern and 6 p.m. Eastern weekdays. Now tomorrow, though, I'm going to be watching my grandson. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it live. I may have to do a recording, but I'll jump in and I'll be able to do it from my phone. So anyway, with that, have a great evening, everyone, and good night. Hope you're in.